Well, human trafficking is a crime most of us probably think happens overseas, in places like Bangkok or Amsterdam. But America is now the #1 destination in the world for child sex trafficking.
Selling people for money is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Oklahoma has become a crossroads of human trafficking. News on 6 crime reporter Lori Fulbright has a special report and joins us now. Lori?
Well, Scott and Terry, kids are being bought and sold and abused right in our own backyard. Why here? It's a supply and demand issue. As long as we have people wanting to have sex with children, there will be others willing to supply them.
We never got paid. They got paid, and when we screamed and cried, the customers didn't care.
We became the victims of a real pimp and prostitution situation.
2 women, both trafficked in Oklahoma, both when they were teenagers. Janetta Taylor grew up in Sand Springs, a typical childhood, a straight-A student with a loving mother.
She didn't drink, she didn't do drugs, she took us to church every Sunday.
Janetta says her life changed when a person she knew molested her when she was only 11. That sort of thing wasn't talked about in her family. So she began acting out, getting into trouble, being promiscuous, and experimenting with drugs.
The harder the drug, the less I had to think or feel.
When she was 13, she ran away for the first time, and a friend's older boyfriend took them to a house at Main and Haskell in Tulsa, promising them protection, clothes, and drugs. But instead, they were forced into having sex with strangers for money, and the violence was terrible.
I've seen people just beat to a pulp on Main and Haskell when I was down there at such a young age. I was more submissive because of that.
She was arrested for prostitution, even though by state law, she was too young to even consent to sex. She eventually got pregnant, her son born addicted to cocaine and then adopted by her sister. She fled to Texas, ended up owing money to the Mexican mafia, and when she tried to get out, was nearly killed.
And one night, 3 of them picked me up and stabbed me 36 times.
She fled back to Tulsa, where she spent years on 11th Street, living in cheap motels, being forced to sell her body by violent drug dealers. She was arrested more than 70 times and eventually lost all hope.
And it became to the point where I had no morals, no values, no self-worth, no self-dignity.
Trafficking doesn't always mean kidnapping. It can mean coercion or psychological control, as traffickers groom these boys and girls, earn their trust, then betray them.
I met a guy, and I didn't realize he was a recruiter. I thought we were in love.
Kim grew up in Oklahoma, was also molested by someone she knew as a child. When she was 18, she met an older man who promised her a Cinderella love story. But instead, he took her to an abandoned house and handcuffed her to a door.
And during that time, I was raped, I was beaten.
She was sold to men who took her to a warehouse in Nevada, where she lived with others, some as young as 8, all forced to do unspeakable things. Escape? Impossible.
The trafficker, when I ran away the first time, they hit me in the back of my head with a crowbar. The second time, they twisted my arm, grabbed my wrist, twisted my arm all the way back, and broke it. And the third time, they held me in a tub of ice when I was naked.
It's happening here. Kids are recruited from here.
Mark Elam has heard hundreds of these stories as the head of Oklahomans Against Trafficking Humans. And now he gives seminars to educate police officers, social workers, and churches. He says Oklahoma is a prime trade route for traffickers with I-40, I-44, and I-35. But even worse, our children here are prime targets.
We're #1 in female incarceration. We're #1 in child abuse. We're #2 in teen pregnancy. We're #3 in divorce. That all fuels to us looking like the poor area, the uneducated area, broken families, vulnerable young people in a heavy area to recruit from.
Both Kim and Janetta finally escaped their hell, and with much help and treatment, became the women they were meant to be.
And I fell down on my knees and I cried. And I said, God, I can't do this anymore.
I met a lady that taught me how to have a personal relationship with my Creator.
The #1 place right now for traffickers to recruit our children is on the internet. They do get caught, and thanks to new laws, can get 10, 20-year sentences if a minor is involved. But Oklahoma prosecutors, we're told, aren't really using those new laws, and in many cases, these are just getting plea bargained down. Scott Terry, of course, this is a very complex issue. We were just talking about it a minute ago. We've only barely scratched the surface, so we've put lots more information on our website, newson6.com, and also information on how folks can get a free child trafficking seminar like the one I went to just a couple of weeks ago. It's an 8-hour class, eye-opening, shocking, sad, but church groups, business groups, police officers, anybody can go to this class for free.
Good information.
It's just amazing that
it
happens here.
It really is.
You just wouldn't think it. All right, thank you, Lori.